Welcome to the Grenadier Podcast, Real Estate Uncovered. Today I speak with Greg Seaward-Searle, Client Experience Manager for Harcourts Grenadier. You obviously love this business. Tell me what you love the most about it. Today, an absolute exclusive. Welcome back to the Grenadier Podcast, Real Estate Uncovered. Greg, can you share with us your journey in the real estate industry and your expertise in client experience?
Going back a wee bit in history and having spent time working at the airport for 15 years, front-facing, dealing with hundreds of people on a daily basis, and then moving into the clothing industry, where, again, front-facing, building up a clientele of wonderful clients, and those skills taught me interaction perfectly with people.
Beautiful.
And then an opportunity presented itself for me to join Harcourts. It wasn't something that I'd considered doing, but the role was customer service / client experience. And so I jumped at the opportunity. It was like, right, I can do this. This is something I know. And coming to Grenadier, I was given the opportunity to even expand it further, like more interaction with the clients, being in touch with them, having chats, emailing, etc., etc.
Yes.
That whole people contact that we need.
Yeah, absolutely. What does client experience mean to you here at Grenadier?
For our clients to essentially have had not only their time with their agent, but also to know that during their journey there are other people involved, the managers, myself, the auctioneers, and that all adds up to be a massive part of what we call the client experience. And I like to think that I'm there to facilitate in some way, step in if needed.
And you do,
Yeah, and I do. You're absolutely right. I love it.
Could you highlight some of the key initiatives that have been implemented at Grenadier to elevate that client experience?
I don't think there's any other companies out there that are doing it quite like we are.
Yes.
We have, for example, the corporate cab service, which is just mind-bogglingly successful.
Yes.
The gratitude that our clients feel for it on auction day is wonderful, because it really does take, if anyone doesn't know what it is, it picks up our vendors to bring them to the auction room on auction day safely and stress-free.
And right to the door.
To the door.
On those windy days or wet days.
And we do return them home in case anyone's wondering. But they arrive, and the point has been made that it will remove some of the stress for them on auction day, and they readily admit it. They're like, yep, you were right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some other initiatives, we've got our fantastic settlement bags for purchasers, which on settlement day they'll receive, and it contains a bag full of little goodies that are quite essential. The things that you often get to your new home and realise are probably packed in a box that's at the back of the van, and you've got children clamouring for certain needs, and we can hand over those bags to them and say, this is for you for the day, and it is going to ease the pressure on things.
Yeah, I love those bags.
Yeah, they are great. They look good too. And they're reusable. They're eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly.
Another great initiative is our Uber Eats, which 6 weeks after settlement for our buyers again, it gives them an opportunity to know that we're still thinking of them, and they will receive a voucher to redeem with Uber Eats for a quiet night at home in their lovely new house that they're still enjoying. So I actually love the email responses I get from our clients on those ones, because they're not expecting it.
Yes.
And also it comes back, they often respond in a very humorous way. I think for some reason Uber Eats tickles their funny bones.
How do you, Greg, ensure consistency in the delivery of that client experience across all of Grenadier and across all the touch points that you might have interfaced with a client?
Look, I know I'm sounding kind of light-hearted about this, but I do take it very seriously. So I do have quite a rigorous schedule in terms of how these people are contacted and what we are doing to contact them. For example, I don't want people saying to me when I meet them and saying, oh, I haven't actually heard from you, or I have no idea who you are. And that is one thing that's very crucial to me, is that at certain times those people actually do need to know who I am.
Yes.
Because otherwise I'm calling them and a perfect stranger is just a voice down the phone to them. Whereas if they've met me, they've had an email or a text and they already know who I am, then that really does go a long way into making sure their experience has gone well.
I know. I always love hearing clients say, "Oh, yes, we know Greg," and you've become like part of their extended family. Throughout the campaign.
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the memories when you look back on your time, so far on your client experience journey, what are some significant milestones or things that you've helped create for people?
Oh, gosh, create.
Any memorable instances?
Oh, yeah, I do have one. Harking back to my previous roles as well, I had spotted that this particular person I thought was a former client of mine and that I used to sell clothing to. And I saw in the notes regarding the person that it was a bit of a sensitive issue, and she was a relatively young woman that had lost her husband. The house was being sold, and I had kind of tiptoed around it a little bit because I knew that it was a sensitive issue. On auction day, when that person arrived, she got out of the cab and recognised me immediately. I recognised her, and she confided to me that it was the first day she'd decided she was going to do something on her own.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
She realised also that day that was actually too bloody hard, that she shouldn't have.
Right.
And so I said to her, look, I'm not leaving your side. So I sat with her in the auction room, held her hand. There was an amazing result, but, as you imagine, given her husband had passed, that was bittersweet.
Yeah.
And so at the end, there were tears from her, and I have to confess I cried as well.
That's what we love about you,
A couple of days later, she emailed me and she just said, thank you so much for just being with me that day, because she wouldn't have done it otherwise. She thought she was brave, but it was too soon. Her grief was still very real. And
yes.
Yeah, so that's probably my one that I will think back on when I need a wee buck up to remind myself that I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, and to treasure,
Yeah,
It is those moments of humanity, heart to heart, isn't it?
And unintentional.
No, that's right. You can't create that.
Yeah.
It just came to be and you stepped up into that role for her.
And something out there provided for her that there was going to be a familiar face.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a lot. But there's so many good moments. I mean,
yes.
You know yourself, Lisa, that on auction day there's incredible results, and for various reasons. And mostly we celebrate, don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
What role do you think technology plays in enhancing our client experience?
So considering when I first started doing this, email was the go. That was how, email and talking to people.
Yes.
Which I love. But now I personally am learning to be a little bit more agile when it comes to people using their phones. They don't just use it to speak with someone. They don't just use it to answer emails. We have text messages.
Yes.
And I get a great response from people on a daily basis who are unable to answer their phone. And it becomes a great method of communication. Also, we're about to implement a new process within the company where we're going to be sending a video out, thanking them for their listing, be it an auction or a standard listing.
Yes.
And it literally will appear on your phone, touch it, open it up, and it's a video playing saying, thank you for. That shows where we're heading in terms of technology, that we want people who've got their phones in their hand to get the message instantly. They don't have to go to their laptops. They don't have to go to their iPads to open up their emails. I think it's going to work.
Greg, have you got advice for real estate consultants on what they could do to make sure that they really are looking after their clients and the experience they receive?
My absolute key piece of information to them is stay in touch.
Yeah.
Just always be in contact with that person. Determine how they want to be contacted. Is it email? Is it text? Is it phone?
Yes.
I'm a firm believer of, if there's an issue, pick up the phone and be a voice.
Yes.
Don't hide behind the written word or the text message. People love to hear a voice. They have that connection. So stay in touch and stay in touch after. you'll get more business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right about the voice, because sometimes depending on our own mood or the client's mood, you could receive a text message or an email and take it out of context based on your own filter, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, let's remember text messages
Both
have
ways.
no intonation.
Yes.
And it causes easy confusion. Yeah.
And I think a voice is soothing, isn't it? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
You can get a lot from that. Yeah.
Well, it can be soothing. It could go the other direction, but at least the point has been made. You know where you sit.
And I think that's a big thing in real estate, that the number one complaint would always be not enough communication.
100%.
So finding out what time of day is best that you communicate with your owners, setting out those expectations at the beginning is quite helpful, isn't it?
Well, I think it also shows that you've actually got a bit of respect about knowing who your client is.
Yes.
You know, there are people who are freely available on their phone during the day. I mean, my phone is attached to me constantly during the working day. But there are people out there who say, we just had some lovely people recently who both worked for the same factory, and they could not have their phones with them at all during the day.
Exactly.
So any contact was either text message, answered in the evening,
Yes.
or email, which was, again, morning or evening. There was no contact during the day.
They were at work, and
that
that's
was
how
it.
it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For prospective buyers and sellers in the real estate market, what are the key factors they should consider when evaluating a real estate company's client service?
One, do they have one?
Yes. Is there a policy about it?
Is there a policy in place?
Yes.
And, you ask the question of, people often ask me, well, what actually is the client experience or the customer service at Grenadier? And so I can go through exactly these touch points that we've gone through, and we're there to back it up. But also, I think, don't be afraid to ask their agent what's
your company's policy on client experience.
Yeah, and also my advice to either the purchaser or the seller is to tell their agent what their expectations are on what they want delivered as a client experience.
Yes, because that could be dramatically different from client to client, couldn't it?
I think it's always dramatically different.
Yes, yeah. And I think, we want to do the very best by them, and sometimes that might be less is more, and sometimes it might be more is more,
Absolutely. Some people don't even want their hand held, and others want their arms wrapped, your arms wrapped around them.
Exactly.
So, just identify all that.
And I think we'd like to be agile enough that we can meet, 99% of people's needs, if not 100.
Well, if you're in real estate, you're going to have to learn to be agile. No question about it.
Yeah. What are you most proud about when you tell people you work for Harcourts Grenadier and you're our client experience manager?
The proudest?
Yes.
I work for a company that, you've heard me say this before, Lisa, I'm so proud of Grenadier that, one, we have a client experience program. We have enormous diversity in our company. We have a New Zealand leader in auctioneering in you, and you've shattered that glass ceiling. I just love the fact that Grenadier just goes with who you are.
Yeah.
If that's who you are and you're doing a great job, we're celebrated, and that always that's the place I want to be. Going to work for me to Grenadiers feel like I'm coming home.
Yeah. Well, Greg, thank you for all the clients you look after for us, and for the times where it might get a bit tough and, you ring us and say you need to do better here. We appreciate that, because we just want our clients to always have the best experience with us.
It's all about the clients.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
so
Lisa.
much.